Hello, this is Mr. Hurley 321 and it is almost July 2026 when I'm doing this video. There's a few things that's been happening. I have been going through chemistry as a textbook, 168 pages out of 356 pages, and I'll just say that I'm halfway through and that then will be a chemistry video to show what I've studied in the future. Who can tell me if there is 15 moles of glucose in photosynthesis, how many carbon dioxide will that be needed for 15 moles of glucose? Ha! There's a question. The next gardening video will be out soon. I'll show a picture here of what the mystery plant is growing in my backyard, because I have planted at least 3 or 4 different types of seed and I haven't figured out what it is yet, because it just came up on its own, and I think it's turnip though, and I'll be able to tell eventually. And anyway, the purpose of this video is to show you The River of Gold, and that's by Hector Holthouse. I did get it for $1, but it's still a very good book. It's worth more than that. Took me 1 year to read this book, and it's based on the map I can show on the thumbnail of this video, which is far northeast or North Queensland, Australia, about the Palmer River Gold Rush. So I'll get into it now. I've got this new book lover's journal, and I'm planning on every book I read to write notes like this, so I can have videos where I review books. And like I said, the next one will be, after this will be chemistry probably, or maybe Australian history, but there'll be definitely more educational videos to come, and a gardening video, and not sure about the gaming videos yet, but anyway, The River of Gold. So pretty much setting out the scene, the protagonist is a man named Mulligan, who is a narrator of the book, it seems, or has a narrator's favourite sort of setting of him with the narrative of Mulligan. That's his last name. And the antagonist are Chinese, and they're sometimes viewed as protagonists though. But the other one, antagonist, is Aboriginals. Set in the 1880s in northeast Queensland, i.e. along the Palmer River, Laura River, Cooktown, Edwardstown, Mitchell, Hodgkinson, Milltown, it's another town. Techniques showed how to fossick gold with the cradle of alluvial gold, which means pretty much on top of the surface, and like along river beds, creeks usually, water-based. Even quartz gold, though, was not as effective without needed machinery. And in town, shanties, women viewed as antagonists sometimes steal gold. Card games, pretty barbaric outcomes for some miners in this book. Quartz gold underground, referred to as reefers. Machinery from Melbourne weighed 4 tons. Bullock wagon hauled it to most successful reefing mines, up to 4 mile from Queen's Edwardstown to the Palmerville, through rugged terrain and sandy slopes. Aboriginals would steal dead horses and get the shoes for spear ends. Many diggers and Aboriginals died, same with some Chinese. Diggers piled up reefer ore, around 400 ton, over 7 different mines. The machine was driven by a 12 horsepower steam engine. From Queen of the North, 110 tons of quartz ore returned of smelted gold. Chinese were methodical and continued on the alluvial gold on the riverbanks, like locusts. The white men mined on reefer gold, especially since there was machinery came. Men who packed and carried gear to and from along the tracks to diggers and towns made the most pounds. And I remember that there was also James Hogflesh, who was a mail officer, used to transport the mail as well as so he acted like a packing and carrier. Quartz gold machine called a stamper. There is a chapter called Hang Mulligan, because crowds and different individuals became frustrated with Mulligan, the protagonist, as Mulligan was paraphrased to lead miners kind of astray, searching for alluvial gold in a new rush along the Hodgkin River. However, this river catchment had mainly only reefer gold. Mulligan stated that too. One day, though, there was a situation where a mob of miners gathered around Mulligan and his horse. A few rebels yelled, "Lynch him!" Mulligan pointed his rifle at them, saving himself. The only violent acts happening were stones thrown at his horse. Mulligan chased the culprits away. Halfway through the video. Cheers. Mulligan, with the help of another good man, an official, St. George his name was, cleared his name by addressing some of the public at a pub in, not sure, was it the Queen of the North? That was one of the pubs. And then the chapter ends with the kangaroo courts, as in people trying to take justice into their own hands. Protagonist staying alive, which is Mulligan. 6 foot holes dug, trying to catch alluvial gold. That's the technique some of them used, let water rush in, that 6 foot hole. There's a place called Hell's Gate mentioned, where Aboriginals would try to succumb the white men. Treacherous terrain all over as tracks are made. Cooktown in Queensland, second only to Brisbane as the busiest seaport. There were more than 250 horse teams, same as bullock teams, and over 500 pack teams. If I did this, I'd certainly be a pack person. Chinese owned about half a cook town, 163 brothels, 97 pubs. Cooktown had 94 hotels. Chinese culture, slowly becoming integrated, but as you can tell, in current day Australia, you don't really see as much of the integration, but this is because the Chinese wanted a lot of the gold up north. So with around 2,000 Chinese living in Cooktown, blazed with the colours of lanterns, banners and goods laid out as in countless stalls. Fruit stalls, lollies, ginger, many coloured lanterns, plenty of Chinese stores and restaurants. Sampans on the harbour provided them with fish, and also Chinese had market gardens, which we all know the Chinese love their farming and gardening, and I've experienced some of that in my life. The Chinese had large sluicing groups. This required a lot of water. They paid for the right to bail water by the bucket out of a big waterhole along the riverbank. This was just for one of their sluicing operations, but anyway, they sluiced and bailed the water, working in shifts 24 hours a day for several weeks. The Chinese immigrants arriving in thousands became destitute, with most alluvial gold already taken by the whites. They robbed, assaulted and even murdered Australians. Queensland gunboat Paluma made her appearance in Cooktown. Warden Hill and the police were ordered to deal with checking Asian and Aussie miners for miners' rights, and to deal with the Chinese destitutional crime. The population of the Palmer consists of 1,400 Aussies, 17,000 Chinese, scattered over an area of 2,000 square miles. Hodgkin River had 4,500 Aussies and 300 Chinese. Only 1,500 Chinese took out miners' rights in this whole time, and there was no record of how much actual gold was sent back to China. However, there was a record of white man's success, which is 5 years of hard diggings still didn't exhaust the Palmer River. The mining area extended 70 miles, and about, here we go, 1 million ounces of gold had been recovered from the Palmer field. 90% was alluvial, so that's a lot of river gold. And that's a river of gold. Stay tuned, like I said, chemistry video coming up, and that will go on for a while, that chemistry video probably, but and a gardening video. I'm gonna order some mustard greens again this year, and marigold, see if I can get growing in the backyard, and nasturtiums. I've got 4 growing in a, try to grow inside first, 4 seeds, and thyme in September. But that should be that, and stay tuned, and thank you for watching this video on the River of Gold by Hector Holthouse, Palmer River Gold Rush.